scared this guy. What the fuck?
What's going on, everyone? It's the Kompetitor here, and I am finally making a Johnny Cage guide. Now, I know everyone's been asking for one for a while, but I really just wasn't sure what to do with the character, and I feel like I have a better understanding of how to play him. So, let's jump right into this. I think Johnny Cage is a very solid character and excels in many places. As you can observe, his walk speed is really good. Like, he can get around the screen really well, and he has really good buttons to complement that. You know, walk back, back 3. If they try to poke or anything like that. He's got forward 3, which is an advancing high, and leads into his best pressure string. It's also a very easy hit confrontable attack into Nutpunch and into force balls or rage charge on block. He also has forward 4, which is his fastest mid. It's 14 frames, and it's safe on block. And he has an advancing 11 frame high, which is an alright string, but I don't really use it that much, except for unique punishes. Johnny also has a very strong wave dash. As you can see, walking in, you know, he's got pretty good forward walk speed. He also has a pretty good forward dash. It's alright. But his wave dash is really strong, and you can see me doing it in several matches. I use this to try to bait buttons out of someone. But it's really good. So outside of footsies and good normals, Johnny Cage also has pretty decent zoning. It's nothing to write home about, but you know, he could really keep some characters out. Like, it's annoying to deal with. I find myself just sitting back trying to annoy characters that don't have a good fireball, like, you know, maybe Jax if he's not heated up, or, you know, Devora, Kotal Khan, Shao Kahn, those type of characters. Because EX is really good too. I always catch people if I dash into it, so, you know, just mix up your zoning, throw a projectile, throw a couple jabs, throw out standing 2 since it recovers really fast, dash up, throw 1. It's really annoying to deal with, and to complement this, Johnny also has really strong anti-airs. In the anti-air department, Johnny does not lack whatsoever. He has 5 really strong anti-airs that are all situational. My go-to is just stand 1 because it's a strong jab. You know, it's just like MK9, and it's just force of habit. After playing MK9, MKX, you know, it anti-airs most things. It's really strong. You get a full combo off it. But he also has stand 2. Stand 2 recovers a little bit quicker, and it has a different hitbox to it. Johnny's head seems to sway back a little bit, so you can actually avoid certain jump-ins that standing 1 can't anti-air, I've noticed. So sometimes I use that instead. Johnny also has back 2. This is his axe kick. It's slower, but it has a really high vertical hitbox, so it's pretty good for, you know, cross-ups, and just if you read a jump, it's pretty strong because it's on the slower side, but you still get a full combo off it. Whoop, my bad. See, it has a very high vertical hitbox. He has down 2, obviously, which is just universal, and he could even convert off it if you hit them at like at the height of the jump. Whoop. Down 1 Nutpunch, get the restand. And then the last one is, if you're kind of far away, I like to anti-air with forward 3, and then just simply go into a combo. Oh, Devora's jump kick is actually pretty good. But yeah, Johnny has really strong anti-airs to complement his zoning and his strong footsie game. So now let's get into his strategy. Now on block, Johnny Cage is a pressure monster, right? We'll go over later on how dangerous he really can be with the use of his brass knuckles buff. But for right now, on block, he has a lot of options. So after each string you do, you can special cancel into your force ball, which leaves you -9. But because the pushback, it's extremely hard to punish, so you have a safe ender basically. EX force balls are amazing. They're plus depending on where you're at. Like, I think up close it's +3. And it can range anywhere to +6, like after forward 3, 4, 4. This is really powerful because it forces your opponent to make a guess afterwards in which they either need to respect you or challenge you. So after blocking that, Johnny Cage is put at a range where his back 3 will reach them, and he probably is spaced to where most characters can't retaliate against him. The problem is back 3 is slow, so if they poke, they can beat it. But Johnny has options against that too. If you just wait like a split second then do it, it will catch pokes. If you walk back and do it, you'll be able to whiff punish whatever they do. You know, stuff like that. So then afterwards, once they start respecting your follow-up, you can go for pressure. So you can go for loops of it if they just keep blocking. You can go for staggers. It's really powerful, you know, just force balls and dash up throw. Force balls, bait, whatever they're gonna do. Like, this is a great anti-air bait. Like, sometimes I'll just throw EX force balls and stand there, and they'll jump because they don't know what else to do. And we already went over Johnny's strong anti-airs, so there you go. He has a lot of options on block, but versus females, force balls whiff, so he's forced to get more creative. So that's when you just stagger, you know, forward 3, 4, 4, forward 3, maybe walk back, see what they do. Just back 3, 4, back 3 into down back 4, just stuff like that. Because force balls will whiff on female opponents, as you'll see there if they're crouching. So it's very dangerous because you can get punished, but I'm sure they'll fix this later in the game's life. So I wanted to go over the rage charge move really quick. Down back 4 gives Johnny Cage a different way to end his strings. It's -3 on block, so it's really good. The problem is that there's a gap in between it. So people can interrupt that and down 2 you out of it, crushing blow, they can interrupt with a string, whatever. So this move is very unique. The first time you do it, it's a high. So special canceling into it is very dangerous because if they're expecting it, like after this string, they can really blow you up for it. But let's go over the move first. So level 1 is a high. You can just neutral duck it at the end of a string and blow it up. So I usually just do it in neutral or after a down 4 on hit, or I cut a string short. Level 2 is where things get serious because then it becomes a legit frame trap. This thing becomes a mid, as you can see. So that means ending a block string with that is actually dangerous. Like, the opponent can't really poke it. If they do, they'll trade at best. So it's a really powerful option if you can't use force balls on the character, such as versus women. But level 3 is where this move is lethal. After a block string canceling into it, it becomes unblockable. It's absolutely amazing. So level 1, you know, you see it's a high. Level 2, we'll go into it, it's a mid. And level 3 is unblockable. It's a very powerful tool, but the problem is getting past that first hit. Because level 1 is the most dangerous to use against an opponent because they can completely blow you up for it. So to get around this, I usually end a string short or do it when they don't expect it. Like if they're just blocking in this range, sometimes I'll just do it in neutral. I also like to end strings early. Like they'll be expecting this into force balls, but you know, versus women, they can just duck that. So versus women, you have to be more creative to use it. Otherwise, the force balls are just gonna whiff, and they know that. So they know your only option is to go into rage charge. So you gotta stagger a bit more. But I like to just do like forward 4 into it to build up a level, because they're waiting for forward 4-4. Or I like to do just back 3 into it, or just forward 3 into it. So to level it up, that's what you gotta do. You gotta do strings early, hope they don't press a button, that kind of stuff, and then you get your unblockable reward. Johnny Cage has an amazing down 4. This is probably one of his most important normals. You may be wondering what's so special about it. Well, it's 8 frames, so it's really quick. It's 1 frame slower than his down 1. It has excellent range. It's a great footsie tool. Low profile stuff, but most importantly, it is plus 17 to plus 18 on hit. Now you may be wondering, what's the significance of that? Well, if you think of Johnny Cage's main pressure string, his forward 3, that's a high. What normally happens if you try to just forward 3 out there, you know, just in the neutral or if they're crouching, you get interrupted. People are going to mash down 1s all day, they're going to down 2 crushing below you. Same old stuff. But what if I told you there's a way to forward 3 and, you know, get your force ball pressure going, or, you know, punish them for pressing buttons? Well, there is a way to guarantee this move. It basically makes it a mid. So I have the AI set to crouching all the time, which means after they get hit, they're gonna crouch so they can go back under highs. But because the hit advantage on down 4, that jails into forward 3. As you'll see, they tried to crouch. So that means you get a full combo if they try to press a button, you know? And if they don't, then you get block pressure. It's a win-win situation. Off of down 1, it won't work because the hit advantage isn't enough. So after down 1, you want to do forward 4-4. Now the problem with forward 4-4 is on block it leaves you point blank. So there are 2 options in which the opponent can do. They can either go for a reversal throw, or they can counter poke you or get their turn back. But I'll show you ways how to deal with that right here. And also on males, down 1 jails into stand 2, which means you can get 2-4-4, which is like a really good string. It's basically forward 3-4-4. But on females it doesn't work. So I'll show you an example against Scorpion of this working. So as I was just showing for females, you know, down 4 jails into forward 3, that same thing here, but that jails into force ball on males. And then down 1 jails into stand 2 against males. Now this is really strong because down 1 also covers the jump out option if you mistime your frame trap, because down 4 can be tricky to time after Nutpunch, so like the opponent may jump out, right? But down 1 it's easy to convert into a combo off of, and it catches their jump as well, so they don't get a, you know, cross up combo on you or something like that. So down 1 versus males jails into stand 2. You see how he's forced to block that? Now this is good because then that jails into the full string. Whoop. Right, so then that's free chip damage off of that. That's almost 10%. And then if they don't block, if they're trying to mash after a Nutpunch, right, down 1 into full combo. After Nutpunch, Johnny Cage has a plethora of options. The Nutpunch is a very powerful attack because it restands the opponent, leaving Johnny Cage at +5 or +6 depending on the combo you do and the height that they get Nutpunched. The reason this move is so powerful is because it sets the opponent up in a situation where they don't have any defensive options. Normally after a knockdown, the opponent has the options to do a forward or backwards tech roll and or do a wake-up attack. The Nutpunch eliminates that opportunity, forcing them to guess. There are plenty of options that you can do after a Nutpunch, but here are the main ones that I go to. So if I know they're going to be mashing a button, see, I'm going to have the AI set to mash down 1. A throw will frame trap every time. See, throw counter. It caught their poke. So their only option against that would be to neutral duck. Because if they're mashing and I try to forward 3 for pressure, they're just going to poke me out of it. So if you think they're going to press a button, I would go with a throw or a down 1 or down 4. Because you are +5, so a down 1 will frame trap, as you'll see right here. And then as you see versus males earlier, you can do down 1 into standing 2, and that will frame trap them. Now versus females, you know, you still have down 4, which will guarantee your forward 3. So after Nutpunch, if you do down 4, forward 3, 4, 4, boom, combo or more pressure. It really depends. But if you think they're mashing, you can either throw down 1 or down 4 after Nutpunch. If they start neutral ducking, you can just go for forward 4, 4 or forward 4 Nutpunch if you're feeling like it's like if you're going to commit to it. Or what I also like to do is just, you know, walk back, try to bait them mashing, or if they're just trying to react to a throw and down to you, you know, you can just walk back, then back 3. So those are your main options after Nutpunch. That's really all you need. Just remember, practice your frame traps, because if you're not crisp on them, they can mash out of it or jump out. So that's something you gotta just set the AI to jump in the lab, and just practice frame trapping it to where they don't get to jump afterwards. So Johnny Cage forces your opponent to block a lot, right? So if they eat this string right here into force balls, which is standard pressure, that's about 6% damage. Now with these active, that is terrifying. That's about 12% chip damage, and it's still your turn. So Johnny really makes the opponent want to press buttons, which is really good on your end because that's what you want them to do. You want them to mash so you can bait it and destroy them. So I found a couple safe setups for this. We found a mid-screen one and a corner. So mid-screen, a guaranteed safe one would just be off of your normal combo ender, 1-1 or 1-2-1 into that, and you could see your recovering time, and then you can go for whatever. Now, I also like to go for this after a shadow kick against most of the cast besides a few teleport characters like Scorpion, because after shadow kick, you know, you're full screen. They don't really have a lot of options there unless they have a super fast projectile or a teleport like I mentioned. So that can be considered safe activation, and it's scary because, you know, Johnny Cage's zoning is pretty good, so they might eat a lot of chip damage trying to block fireballs getting in. And then a corner activation that's safe is your starter, Nutpunch, forward 3, 1-2-1, and Garrus has the fastest wake up in the game at 6 frames, so as you can see, it is safe, which then just lets you go for chip damage. Now I'm going to explain the importance of the fisticuffs buff and why I'm going to start implementing it a lot more. Some people are like, okay, I'm comfortable just blocking Johnny Cage's stuff, you know, it's not really that threatening. So they'll just sit there and wait for the throw, because, you know, sometimes it's obvious. You got to mix things up too by doing back throws, so if they try to attack. But you always got to be careful against people neutral ducking. That's just a side note. But Johnny Cage really needs to enforce his pressure. So by using these plus frames, some people might not challenge ever, and they'll just wait for you to do something stupid. That's why you have these. Now these activate pretty fast. Like the recovery is actually not too bad on them. Like I said, I usually go for them after a shadow kick or after a 1-2-1 combo in the corner. So let's take a look at the chip damage. We already went over this, but you know, that's like 6%. This becomes 12%. That makes them a lot more antsy to challenge or press a button after this. So after you do force balls, just walk back and whiff punish them for what they do, anti-air their jump, whatever. You want to make them antsy to press a button. Like, you want them to make mistakes. That's, as Johnny Cage, your whole game plan is to force the opponent to make mistakes so you can whiff punish and punish them for doing so, for making bad decisions in the moment and just for trying to abuse your plus frames. Like, they want to interrupt you and take their turn back. And that's what makes Johnny Cage really strong. I think this character is really scary as is, and once he gets buffs, like if they, not even buffs, just once he gets hitbox fixes, so it's an even playing field against the females, he's gonna move up the tier list a lot. I already think he's like really strong, but you know, he's a scary character. A very useful tool that Johnny Cage has is the ability to cancel his fatal blow. Right now, he's the only character in the game that can do so. This is done by pressing the buttons to trigger the fatal blow, but instead of releasing, you cancel by dashing either forward or backward. Now, off of certain strings, this cancel can be plus on block, just like A-list Cage in MKX, as some people are familiar with. Like off of back 3-4, this cancels extremely plus. You can frame trap into down 1 afterwards if you think they're gonna press a button, but most people are scared of the fatal blow that they're just gonna sit there and hold it, meaning that you get a great throw setup off of it. So during a match, I always, you know, go for a throw right after that, or if I think they're gonna press a button, just bait it and then whiff punish and stuff like that. You can do it off of forward 4. And there's enough cancel advantage on forward 4 and a couple other strings in which you can combo off of it. Because normally you can't link an attack into this, but off the fatal blow cancel you can. But this doesn't combo, so you kind of just have to mess around with that. So I'll show you guys an example of me really abusing this cancel to make a comeback, because since Johnny's crushing blows aren't the best, at least he has another tool that he can use to help make up for lost life. One last thing I wanted to point out with Johnny is maximizing his damage. So, off of his crushing blows, which he really doesn't get that many of, you really have to take advantage of. One thing I'm going to stress with Johnny is that when you punish someone, you have to punish hard to make sure they don't do it again. So Johnny has 2 really good whiff punishes on highs. So obviously, versus like a throw or like a high jab or something, Johnny has his down 2 crushing blow. Which, you know, you're going to get good damage off of, regardless. But what a lot of people don't use is his Nutpunch crushing blow. Now, you can use this as well as long as it counts as a punish. It will not activate if you counter attack, like if it says counter, like a counter hit, but it will if it's a straight up whiff punish. So like on a throw, or if someone throws out a really slow button, you can whiff punish with EX Nutpunch and it will crushing blow. Like so. And then that allows you to take advantage of the huge damage, which, you know, this isn't optimal. You can watch my combo video for that. But the point is, you know, you really need to make sure when they make a mistake, you hurt them. That's also why I'm implementing punishing stuff with, instead of like doing, you know, if 1-2, you know, that's your 7-frame punish and the Nutpunch, launch or whatever. Instead of doing that, you know, if something's -12, you know, I'm starting to punish with 3-4. You got to get that maximum damage. Because forward 3-4-4 might be too slow to punish something, but you can punish it with this. It's all about optimizing, because this is big damage compared to other starters. That's almost 31%. So maximizing damage with Johnny, I think, is going to be super important, and that's what I'm going to be working towards. That wraps up everything for Johnny Cage. I feel like I covered everything that I use in matches. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want to see. I'm going to continue making character-specific guides, like how to deal with Liu Kang, how to deal with Sonya coming up, all kinds of stuff. So be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I'll be making more content, and also I will be streaming on Twitch, so you can follow me there. The link is in the description. Stay up to date by following me on Twitter at @Kompetitor, and I really hope you guys learned something in this video. That was the entire goal, and yeah, go out there and mop people in ranked matches.